if you can hear me.
Good. Let me see. All right.
Hello, how are
Bradley,
you? Good to see you again.
good to
So,
see you too.
yeah, just like Audrey, thanks to you for being part of Project Voice 100 earlier in the week, and thank you for being part of Project Voice worldwide right now. I'm going to make you host, which
Okay.
will allow you to share your screen.
Yep. I should be doing that.
There
Is
you
my
go.
screen up?
It is, and as long as you make that full screen, you're good to go.
All right. Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you,
All
Daniela.
right.
I'm honored to have you here. I'm going on mute.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I was just in Chattanooga with all these amazing people, and in the first conference of the year, I think that Bradley was able to put it together and make everybody fly to the Midwest. No, actually, it's the South Midwest, something like that. And the DefinedCrowd is what we say is the GitHub of AI. And let me tell you a little bit of the story of why are we doing this. As you know, 30 years ago, we were still in the paper and ink era. And then software came, replaced paper and ink. And AI came in the last decade, replacing software. And essentially, as code was the guts and the foundation of software, data is the new code. Data is what code was for software, for AI. Why? And because AI starts in data, the DefinedCrowd is been enabling the value chain of AI, starting with the tooling, which is how we started the first 5 years of our company, based out of Seattle, global already, 300 employees in Portugal and Tokyo as well, and working with the big Fortune 500 companies and the Fortune 10 AI builders that all rely on trusted, transparent, high quality data. So we have been really building the tooling that builds the data, and from the data you train models, and the world is training models. So we are getting winning all this value chain of the stack. The AI applications we've been moving on, and obviously we're in Project Voice, it's have been around speech technologies, natural language processing, computer vision, and machine translation, which altogether are cognitive services. But we are moving beyond that. Cognitive services are probably the hardest area the hardest problem to solve, because it has to do with the human language, and human language is one of the hardest things to code and program, or let's say not train, because we are in the AI world, to train, and all requires lots and lots of data. So the DefinedCrowd in the first 5 years, and now we're past the milestone of 5 years, and we're going on our next phase of 5 more years. We have produced what we call defined workflows, which is the data factory. We've been able to create standardized, big scale workflows of data that have been producing thousands and thousands of hours of speech, thousands and thousands of sentences, fully annotated sentences. And we have been using a combination of crowdsourcing with machine learning to create this data. But in the next generation of our data world, data will come from not only from people, but from devices, and synthetic. It will be synthetic too. And this is what we are building in Defined Data. And I want to talk about that. We have other products in our suite. We have Studio coming up as a secure data annotation tool. We have Crowd as a service. But what I really want to talk today is about the marketplace, Defined Data. Defined Data was possible to create because we had the foundation of having some of the highest, the hardest workflows of training data and collection and annotation for speech and natural language processing. We have been building speech and NLP data that is in right now in Watson what in IBM Watson, and a number of their competitors that we cannot mention. And Defined Data is this marketplace of training data for AI with the highest transparency. Everything you see is what you get. You have metadata that gives you information about language, country, age, gender, recording conditions, accent distribution, phonetic distribution, domain, and you can even download sample data, sample demos, and you don't get, you know what you're getting. With the DefinedCrowd seal of quality, but the Defined Data marketplace is not going to be built only with DefinedCrowd data, or DefinedCrowd data for a client has that we have been doing this as well. We've been sitting on lots and lots of data, and with the right agreements with our clients, we have been able to share that to the world with our marketplace. The truth is, besides data from us or data together with for a partner, we are welcoming more data partners, more sellers. We just launched a press release last week, actually with a flagship client, NVIDIA, for their Nemo and Jarvis open source speech to text and NLU systems. So besides feeding NVIDIA's baseline models, we are also helping NVIDIA's clients and welcoming other sellers, other clients, other people, other companies to share their data in the marketplace and have royalties alongside us and be part of our strategic roadmap. Now, Defined Data will not be only speech. Right now, we have almost 20,000 hours of voice with less than 5%, in some cases less than 1%. We have scripted, we have human to human in dialogue, which is really rare. And we have human to IVR conversations, which is very important for call center scenarios. But we're coming up with multimodal data, NLP data, vision data, connected car data, smart grid data, IoT data. We are expanding the marketplace, always with the seal of quality and with a larger and larger ecosystem of independent evaluation. And that's it. Please, this is in our website. You can find, and the website to access to Defined Data is getdata.definedcrowd.com, getdata.definedcrowd.com, and from there you can either check out what's there. You can listen to samples. You can purchase data, or you can be apply and become a partner with us in the marketplace. Thank you very much, Bradley. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, nice job. I'm going to leave this up for okay. Well, what I'll ask you to do is when I put you back into attendees in just a minute, if you'll put your contact information, but what I'll do is I'll ask you a couple of questions while we're waiting for our next guest to arrive. So most people don't know that you are and now I think I get this wrong most of the time, so you can correct me for the record if it is. You are the founder, the highest, you're the female founder who has raised the most money in a single fundraising round of any AI entrepreneur.
That's right. That's okay. Right. In the United States, which probably represents the world, because unfortunately is where there's more money to invest in tech companies.
So you sort of have an interesting position. You know, we started this virtual conference with a group called iVal.ai. And what they do is they are very interested in, as AI proliferates, making sure that all of our cultural heritages are, the integrity of them is maintained. So, cultural misappropriation, they want to try to stop that from permeating AI as much as they can. And, a big focus of theirs is data sets. With everything that you're doing with DefinedCrowd and defined data, how much of that of bias in AI, whether in that specific form or some other form, concerns you, and how much does that guide what DefinedCrowd does?
Thank you, Bradley. Well, we are proud to say that every data set we create follows a set of rules to represent, and if we're talking about voice, which is much more evident, to represent different gender, the gender distribution, the age distribution, the dialect distribution, and the sociolectal changes too. So, and we have we use technology to make sure we overcollect and then balance back a lot of these areas of dialectal groups. And we are able to segment and target the people through Nivo, our crowdsourcing platform, and at the same time validate that they are really native speakers of the language, that they live where they live, where they say they live, and that they have done a certain part of their education until a certain age in a certain location, which is usually what classifies you within a certain dialectal variant. So we do all of that. A lot of the cases that you find in our defined data sets, because they were built for clients with certain purposes, either to fill the gap of female absence of usually in a lot of cases, the traditional way of building data sets from technology giants is you put a product in the market, you get data. Before there was all these data concerns before, you get client data, and you will quickly not represent a lot of the other cases. So a lot of the cases you see targeted dialects with more weight than, or target genders or target ages with more weight than others, because it's what the client is missing. And domain specialization is another big thing. Data, in the end of the day, it's about the data. It's all about the data.
What's the hardest part about running a startup in the voice and AI space that's been, not just a startup, but one that's raised a bunch of money? What's the hardest part of your day-to-day?
Well, right now, it's less and less hard to explain the problem we're solving. 5 years ago, and 4 years ago, it was really hard to explain what we are solving. And now you have Bill Gates with the top 10 predictions of the next decade in the MIT journal saying that AI and virtual assistants is one of the 10. So, and you have a lot of people, and you have virtual assistants exploding everywhere because of the pandemic push. But it wasn't easy before. Now, what is hard as we get in the big players league is no different from any other entrepreneur in my position. We have to it's still a very nascent technology and market that is still not so stable and predictable. Yet I still have to predict and forecast exactly every quarter, not with the same scrutiny as a public company, but it's already very similar weight on me and my leadership team to be able to predict. And AI is not so easy yet to predict because it's very nascent.
So I got a couple more questions for you. One is going to come out of this Q&A, so I'm going to read this verbatim. Daniela, what is the open source speech to text engine that you mentioned?
It's called Jarvis, Jarvis, by NVIDIA. You can search that on Google. NVIDIA is doing an interesting push on, because everybody monetizes a different way. NVIDIA monetizes with GPUs. So they want people to come to their marketplace where they sell foundational baseline models for big companies to build custom models on top of it. And they all need data, more custom data. So they will need, we're here to help everyone as well. But the open source angle for them, of course, we will have open source data too in our marketplace, by the way, and we will have very special prices for academia. But we have to monetize. Our monetization is data, their monetization is GPUs. So it's a different strategy to attract people, but it shows the investment that even companies like NVIDIA that would not traditionally go there are putting in cognitive services.
All right, so I'm going to ask you one more question, and I think Mark Cuban is on his way in shortly. But Daniela, one of the things that makes you unique, out of several things that makes you unique, is that you have worked for big companies like a Microsoft, and you've worked with startups. You know, one of the things you're going to hear me ask Mark in just a moment, and I see that he's just joined us, so we'll end with this, is the sentiment seems to be that, you know, the attitude toward big tech has shifted recently. You know, you could debate where it happened. The future of voice and AI, do you think it's going to be easier for the big tech companies to do it moving forward into the next chapter after the pandemic, or do you think it's going to be companies that start up and that we've never heard of before? What do you think of the landscape? And we'll close with this.
I think we are finally, because AI is still nascent, and yet we just watched Microsoft acquiring 20 billion or almost $20 billion company, Nuance, who's been around for and has been paving the way for us to get to this point for a long time, 20 plus years. In the whole, we needed with the future. AI is like electricity. I keep saying that AI is another revolution like the internet or like electricity before. Everybody will have to have it. What we're going to have more and more, and this is very refreshing for our marketplace, is seeing companies that finally are getting to 20x unicorn level. And we need more of these. We haven't seen yet a big acquisition. We haven't seen a big acquisition in AI until this one. They barely get to a unicorn level. They get acquired before the 1B level all the time. So showing this shows that it's possible to start to monetize and grow in a healthy way. And we will see more and more cases like this. The AI market is a 370 billion TAM.
Daniela, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to see you in Chattanooga earlier this week. Pleasure to see you now. Thanks to you and DefinedCrowd for the work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you.
So we've arrived here at the end, almost, of Project Voice Worldwide. We're very honored to have a special guest with us to close us out. And let me go to you, Mark, and promote you to panelist. And we'll kick this thing off. Mark, you are here if you can hear me. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Long time no see.
I know, it's been a while, Brad.
Thank you for being here, Mark. Thank you for giving us some of your time. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. It's very much appreciated.